Endorfy is a newer brand that's looking to expand their global presence with a veritable sea of products to offer, including some enthusiast PC hardware. Today we'll be taking a look at a few of their peripherals. One of them impressed me far more than I thought it would. For transparency, Endorfy did send these over for us to review, and while I do get to keep them, no money changed hands, all opinions remain my own, and no one has been privy to this content prior to its upload. Let's start with the mouse. The LIV Plus Wireless at roughly $95 as of filming through Newegg and ModMyMods. For this bit on the mouse, it is worth noting that the dimensions of my hand are roughly 18.25 centimeters from the base of my palm to the top of my middle finger, 8 centimeters across at my front knuckles, 9.75 centimeters across, millimeters, that'd be wild, from my thumb knuckle across. Weighing in at 69 grams on our scale, this mouse isn't doing anything overly adventurous, utilizing an ambidextrous shell design that's fairly safe, all things considered, that's full of holes. You may feel some kind of way about a holy mouse, but I personally like this sort of shell design when it's executed well. And in the month or so I've been using this mouse, I can safely say that I'm quite comfy using it. The second time an ambi shape has resonated with me, the other being another mouse we are in process of reviewing. I think in this case it has to do with the general shape of the mouse being reminiscent of a FinalMouse Ultralight X Lion, a specific shape I've been able to test and compare with thanks to BPS Customs printing some mouse body samples for me. The main difference with this shell is in the lower overall skirt height around the perimeter and rounded, less cylindrical front section. I'm still on the fence as to which I prefer, and your mileage may vary here. Texture of the plastics is mild but present, reminding me of a GMK keycap and likely shining in much the same way on a long enough timeline, though shell material isn't listed, so I can't actually qualify that to be the case. But it is worth noting the surface of my model looks pretty good still after its use at my production setup. The two broad skates at the front, back, and sensor surround are PTFE, and there's a spare set included. They've done well with glide smoothness on all my desk mats, but especially my lamp concrete mat and my banana mat, both of which use more coarse textures I find lend themselves well to fast mouse movement. The scroll wheel has one of 3 spots for lighting on the mouse, with the other 2 being in the Endorfy logo and at the rear edge. The wheel itself has smooth big detents in the encoder, and while it's not the most quiet scroll action I've heard, it's even and unintrusive. So for my use case, it didn't really bother me. The center click is also perfectly weighted, though there's no tilt click present. Thumb buttons are well positioned for my hand and have what I would call a comfortable pre-travel. Not too much, not too little. The left and right clicks use KLGM 8.0s rated for 80 million clicks and feel really nice with, again, well-balanced pre-travel, minimal post-travel, and well-controlled lateral movement from the shell. The one issue I've run into with this mouse in terms of quality control is the left click has developed this weird intermittent squeak when I'm using it. It happens 1 or 2 times and then that's it. I'm not entirely sure what's causing this, and someone that was industrious enough to take this mouse apart would probably be able to service it. That said, after just about a month of consistent use, I don't feel like that's something that the end user should be experiencing just yet. However, the fact that there are extra feet present makes me feel a little bit more confident about pulling these feet off, opening up the mouse, and seeing if I can get the squeaking to stop. The sensor is a PixArt PAW3395. Again, while I didn't do a ton of gaming with this mouse, I did fire up a few games on my production machine, and 2.4 gig performance feels smooth and precise, even with things being limited to 1K polling. I usually play with around 800 to 1000 DPI for context. You can also get Bluetooth up to 125 Hz, with charging and dongle placement being handled by the RGB charging dock. Visually, the dock is safe but handsome, only having an odd quirk with the onboard RGB control. It can't remember when you want the RGB turned off on power cycle. All other RGB light modes seem to retain their settings. Not sure if there's a fix possible for this, but it's a minor issue that only becomes an actual problem if you stick this to your desk. A move I do not recommend. Just leave this film in place. That said, mouse placement and fit on the dock is quite nice, and it charges so fast, it's kinda unreal. A claimed 10 minutes is all it takes to get this thing charged for 8 hours of gaming. I think I could believe that, and even in testing and daily use at my production machine, The battery on this lasted for nearly a month on a single charge in 2.4 gig mode, with more likely being possible with Bluetooth for more casual situations like the one I'm using it in. This is in part due to quite aggressive low power state behavior, in which the mouse basically shuts itself off entirely and can only be woken up with a click of one of the mouse buttons. This could potentially be annoying depending on what button you hit and in which window things are active when you wake the mouse. And sadly, the software, for all of its other tuning capabilities, doesn't let you adjust this behavior as of writing. If this is something that can be patched into the software, that would correct one of the only major gripes I have with this mouse, the other being the silliness with the RGB on the charging hub. I can also qualify that despite the holes, the shell feels quite substantial, giving me no indication it would fail anywhere as a result of the design, and providing no creaking anywhere with using reasonably expected force. So far, so good. Now let's take a look at the $47 Solum Voice S really quick, as there's not a ton to go over with this mic. And that's a really good thing. There's a small included pop filter, USB cable, instructions, and a basic but essential feature set. Surface-mounted mute and gain control, as well as an inbuilt monitoring port. The plastic yoke threads onto its base using what I believe is a 1/4 threading with a metal insert. So you could also technically upgrade to having a boom arm later, if that makes sense and mounting this in a more ideal position is the play. While there's a lot of plastic present other than the metal grille, I didn't feel like build quality was lacking overall here, especially considering this mic is under $50. As for audio quality, we've now actually swapped over to the Endorfy microphone right now, and I gotta tell you, in some of the sound samples that I took off camera, I'm actually pretty impressed with how this mic's performing. It's currently in roughly the same position that my FinalMouse microphone is located, with similar onboard gain settings. This thing sounds great. Honestly, compared to the FinalMouse mic, it almost sounds like my voice is a bit less compressed, and there is definitely a noticeable lack of sibilance when I'm making those hiss sounds in the microphone. That's something I've struggled with in my audio basically since I've started making content. This microphone is handling it really well. The nicest thing about all of this is the plug and play experience. I've not done anything else in the mix other than, again, as has been mentioned on the screen right now, running this through NVIDIA Voice to get rid of any sort of background noise that's present from, especially from my PC. Everything else is just as this ships out of the box. That said, the FinalMouse mic still has an ace up its sleeve in that it can be run off an XLR cable as well. This will need to be something I test a bit later on, as this could be the killer app that makes this mic maybe make a bit more sense again. Generally speaking, I feel pretty good about Endorfy based on what's on offer here so far. To be clear, none of these is the second coming of their respective product type, but they're not doing anything horribly offensive either, outside of one minor QC issue with the LIV Plus Wireless left-click squeak that an adventurous user could probably address themselves. But at this point of ownership, you shouldn't have to, which is why it's worth mentioning. Everything else is sort of nitpicky stuff with the mouse, like an overly aggressive low power mode and some RGB bugginess with the charging dock, so Generally speaking, if you like the shape of the mouse and a weight of 69 grams makes sense to you, it's a safe pick that just needs a few minor revisions and a software update to really be dialed in. The Solum Voice S, however, is a surprisingly capable USB mic, shedding all unessential features, delivering the goods where it matters most, and is one of the few products where I genuinely don't really have anything to gripe about. This gets a solid recommendation from me as an entry-level product that respects your wallet and space while delivering excellent voice quality. Take care of yourselves and one another, and we'll see you all in the next video.